You press that one. Yeah.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on sportstalksc.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk here on Sports Talk Media Network. A beautiful, beautiful Wednesday afternoon, what I call a 36 kind of day. Get in 36 holes on a day like this, and you won't really feel it. I mean, I didn't get 36 in. I've been working my fingers to the bone. Chris Bergen's been working his fingers to the bone. Pat looks like he just came in from the pool. So all is normal here on Sports Talk. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery, lucky number for you to reach us tonight. Give us a call. Might be your lucky night to get through to Sports Talk. Pretty wide open for things. Mike Morgan will join us at 7:05 tomorrow night at 6:30. East Carolina football coach Mike Houston will be with us. He's going to get an early look at South Carolina in the upcoming season. And so we'll get you a preview of the Pirates, who got a commitment today from an in-state player here in South Carolina. More on that to come. South Carolina got a commitment today as well. Now, this is one of those deals where, you know, as a media member, you have to be respectful and kind of bite your tongue. Shane Beamer sent out the commitment alarm early this afternoon and doing some digging and some research. Sort of kind of figured out who it was for, but also learned that the young man wants to wait until July 5th to make his announcement. You know, he wants to have an announcement some ways, somehow. And so basically asking that everybody hold their tongue. If you happen to think you know who it is, hold your tongue and let him have his day in the recruiting world on July 5th. So being the nice people that we are, you know, why not? Not want to steal the thunder from the young man. So the person who we think it is, good player, we've talked about him before on the program, and obviously South Carolina is very happy to have him come on board. We'll give you a complete recruiting rundown coming up a little bit later on. 888-898-2525. So Chris watched a lot of sports last night. Good stuff on television. Watched the NBA game. What a fantastic ball game. And then caught some of the the highlights of the Phillies and the Nationals. And so what I'm coming to you with here is between those two, my mind just kind of exploded between those two games. Now, we've got great sporting events taking place. The basketball game, just basketball-wise, pure basketball, was sensational. What a fantastic finish. But are we ruining our games with so many stoppages, rules, and replays? It took almost 30 minutes to play the last 2 minutes of that NBA game with all the replays. And then, of course, we've got Major League Baseball now becoming umpires are now the Gestapo of Major League Baseball, searching for foreign substances on pitchers. And I don't remember them going this crazy over the hitters when they were hitting 600 feet homers and hitting 60 homers a year and muscles like Popeye popping out everywhere. I didn't see Major League Baseball sending the umpires, with something to test the blood before the pitchers, the hitters came to the plate. Now, is it going to be the case that every time a pitcher's going well, we're going to have to stop and have him, take off his belt buckle and his shoes and his hat and his glove and let umpires inspect him? I mean, look, I love Joe Girardi. He brought me my last championship, okay? I love Joe Girardi. Loved him as a player and as a manager. He did what he had to do, he said, within the rules and to help his team out. But come on. I mean, we gotta get back to just playing sports. And okay, like if an official makes a mistake, So be it. It's part of the game now. One of the things that happened last night is because of replay, they gave Phoenix a free timeout that Phoenix did not have. And it gave Monty Williams plenty of time to draw up that fantastic play for the winning basket. I mean, where do we draw the line here to where technology and everything else and interfering with sports now just becomes too much?
First of all, rather, and good evening. Am I the only one in our audience that can't believe you didn't reference the college baseball game last night when you were talking about great sporting events? How about Mississippi State's comeback last
I would have gotten to that eventually.
6 runs in the 8th inning after Virginia had a no-hitter going through, 7 last night, and the Bulldogs finally figured out a way to get to their starting pitcher, and then Shock came in and was unable to get anybody out, and a terrific win for Mississippi State last night because they were pretty much left for dead in the last couple of innings of that ball game. But to your points, replay has got to go away, in my opinion. And this may not be a popular opinion, but I have gotten to a point I cannot stand replay, whether it be in basketball, football, baseball, what have you. You talked about baseball. Max Scherzer almost undressed on the mound, didn't he, last night after he was accused by Girardi of using some sort of foreign substance. I think the only thing he did not take off was his shirt and pants. But
that was truly one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a moment of emotional height. I mean, he was pissed. He was mad.
Understandable.
And so was, then Girardi got mad, and the Nationals manager, he was mad. But just watching him, the way he reacted to the umpire and what he was mouthing out there, I mean, just go ahead. I'm sorry.
But no, my overall point is I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't know where we got to a point that an official making a mistake was no longer acceptable, and umpires and officials had to be perfect. And if they're not perfect, we're going to go to the eye in the sky to make sure that they are perfect. We were okay. We went through 50, 60, 70 years of games without having a replay. And I understand we didn't have the technology back in the 40s and 50s and 60s. But now that we do, I don't think that's a reason enough, because we have the technology to fix every call to interrupt any flow to any game. Baseball's one thing, football's one thing, but the one that it bothers me the most is basketball, because you get into a situation where replay can virtually take any flow, what little flow we see developing in college basketball anymore. It can virtually take that flow out. I'd love to see them just eliminate replay. Let's accept a mistake here or there by the umpires, the referees, because the players aren't perfect. The coaches certainly aren't perfect. So why do we expect, and why do the officials working the games have to be? And if they're not, we're going to fix their problems.
Yeah, Pat, what you got?
Just first of all, the baseball, you guys mentioned the Joe Girardi, Max Scherzer situation, but don't know if y'all saw the Oakland Athletics last night. Relief pitcher Sergio Romo actually dropped his pants all the way down to his ankles when they were trying to test him. The umpire simply asked for him to remove his belt, and he just said, no, just take my pants, and just completely dropped his drawers in front of 20,000, 30,000 fans. And now with basketball, with replay, you're right in a lot of ways. That game last night, excuse me, I'm getting this reversed. It was either 34 or 43 minutes for the final 90 seconds in real time for the final 90 seconds of game time in that Suns Clippers last night. I saw somebody had that exact time on Twitter earlier, and that's absolutely remarkable. But on the flip side, they need to find some kind of middle ground. Would we rather be complaining right now about how long the last part of the game went and about these replays? Or would we rather be complaining if the game had ended on a missed call and then you have a team losing when they should have actually won if they had gone to the replay? And I don't know the answer there, because last night was absolutely just bonkers. The game, no reason for it to last that long.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. You want to get it right, but the game should be played by humans.
Exactly.
And it should be umpired by humans. And mistakes of all types are part of the games. I mean, think about some of the great sports moments in history that were created because an official made a mistake. That World Series game. Remember that game back in maybe the 70s or 80s? The bad call at first base, the Cardinals and somebody. It created a furor, and it created conversation for days, if not weeks. Well, to this day. I mean, listen to me. I'm no baseball historian. I mean, I vaguely remember it, but I know there was a huge moment there with a play at first base. Football games, ad nauseum. Now, think about the Packers, for example. Look, Packers benefited from the replay of the Bryant catch, no catch for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go back even into the 60s. Now, there was no replay back then, but the field goal that Don Chandler made to beat the Colts in an epic Packers Colts playoff game, that I think if replay had been around, it would have showed that he missed, but they called it good, and the Packers won, benefited once again. Is it Jeffrey Myers? Jeffrey Myers, 96, I think it was, the Yankee fan who leaned over when the Yankees had the playoff win, the crucial win over the Orioles. He interfered, caught the ball. Umpires ruled it was a home run. I think today that would have been overruled and ruled it out or whatever. I mean, these things, the mistakes that umpires, officials make, if they make them honestly and with effort, and they're doing their job, but they get a call wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we just got to suck it up and say so be it. But this constant, college baseball games have gotten terrible. You can't steal a bag without having a replay now, and it's so close. It's bang bang on almost every play, and there's a stoppage. There's 2 minutes or 90 seconds, whatever it is, and umpires come out. I hate that they use this thing like you're going to your ears, the signal that they want to replay. But when I see them doing that, I just here we go again. And it just slows the game down and adds to a game that the people have already complaining about is too slow to begin with. So last night sort of brought it to a head with me between the basketball and then watching what happened in the Nationals and Phillies game. I just thought we're over the top here.
The only thing, Phil, I will be okay with if they completely got rid of replay, I would be a happy camper. But if they kept it for administrative type things, for instance, I remember covering a high school football game several years ago, and I think I may actually have this on my epitaph. Lake City was playing Wilson High School, and the referees forgot the downs. Wilson actually got an extra down. They got a fifth down, like the Colorado, who was it? Colorado game that Cordell Stewart was
Colorado
involved in.
Is it Colorado?
I think that's
Michigan?
right.
Missouri.
Yeah. And they got a fifth down. Wilson went in to score and ultimately won that game. And on down the road, that cost Lake City a chance to get into the playoffs. Those officials were punished by the South Carolina High School League and did not work the 3A state playoffs that year. Those type things should be able to correct pretty easy. Because if I'm in the broadcast booth and I'm doing radio and I can't remember how many downs there are, you would think the officials could. And if they can't, if they need to go to replay to double check something like that, I'm okay. But a ticky-tack play at second base, a bang-bang play at first, did he shoot a three-pointer? Was his toe on the line or just beyond it? That kind of stuff, I don't know that we need to continually stop the games. And you're right about college baseball. It has gotten to a point. I think that is the biggest problem college baseball faces moving forward. It's not the style of game. It's not the players. It's not the coaches. It's the games take too long. I mean, you'll get a regular season game that may go 4 hours. There's nothing I want to do. As much as I love college baseball, I don't want to watch a game for 4 hours.
No. All right, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Did you know that since 2002, more than $160 million in lottery proceeds have been used to fund SC Hope scholarships for the state's college-bound students? Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/education wins, and playing for fun is a win for education. Wide open for your calls right now. First up, first on the air tonight here on Sports Talk. Calls are coming up after the break. We'll be right back.
No air balls, no bricks, nothing but net with Founders Federal Credit Union. Our full-service line of financial products gives you all the tools you need for financial success. And you'll love being with us as much as we love serving you. Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com or one of our more than 30 locations to see if you qualify for membership with Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax with Founders. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Enjoy life to the fullest with tasty peanuts that pack a lot of flavor. When it comes to eating peanuts, the research is clear. Peanuts improve your health. Peanuts, a snack that gives back. Crack some open today for a nutritious, sustainable, and earth-friendly treat. Be sure to stop by your local grocery store produce section to pick up a bag of roasted in-shell peanuts. Brought to you by the South Carolina Peanut Board. Visit aboutpeanuts.com for delicious peanut-based recipes.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Hey, folks, mortgage rates have dipped to their lowest levels in recent history. And with home values up in many areas, now may be the perfect time to refinance your home. Whether you're looking to lower your monthly payments, free up cash for home improvements, or just pay off your home faster, a quick call to the one and only Stuart Wingo of Ameris Bank could save you money. If you're looking for competitive rates and exceptional service, call Stuart Wingo. 803-319-1777. That's 803-319-1777. You will save money just like I have so many times over the years. You can also visit him, amerisbank.com/Stuart Wingo. Stuart Wingo, the man with the plan for all your mortgage needs.
Welcome to Tiny Stories. Today we're with Sonia, who recently won $500 on a scratch-off. I am such a loser. I'm so confused.
Ever been to a family reunion?
Not if I can help it.
My dad's family rents a beach house every year. I've always said I can't afford to go.
I am so sorry.
I'm assigned a sleeping bag on the porch with cousins I've never met.
Been there. Even got the t-shirt.
You may be Cousin Tina.
No. You know what? That's it for the South Carolina Education Lottery. Tell your story at tellyourtinystory.com.
The future of golf is waiting for you at the Players Club. Rain, shine, or after dark, you can enjoy the game of golf anytime at Columbia's Indoor Country Club. The Players Club delivers the most realistic golf experience and offers more than 90 championship courses. Player practice with the same state-of-the-art full-swing simulators used by Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth. Visit maincoursesc.com to book a bay and become a player today at the Players Club, part of the Main Course, 1626 Main Street in Columbia.
Go, 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 shorty. It's your birthday. We gonna party like it's your birthday.
All right, welcome back into Sports Talk. Sports Talk Media Network. Update some baseball. Brewers lead the Diamondbacks 3-1, bottom of the seventh. Giants and Angels 1-1, top of the seventh. Rockies 3-1 over the Mariners, end of the seventh. White Sox beat the Pirates 4-3. Tigers beat the Cardinals 6-2, and the Nationals beat the Phillies 13-12. Braves got a win last night, back in action tonight against the Mets up in New York. Braves are within 2 games of 500. Charlie Morton was really good last night, got his 100th career win. And Kyle Wright starts tonight for the Braves, no record, 4.15 ERA against Tyler McGill, making his debut. His debut this season, maybe even professionally for the Mets tonight. Let's get to your phone calls. We'll touch on some other notes as we move on through the program. 888-898-2525. That's the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. Andy in Columbia, you're up first tonight. Welcome in. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. Couple of things regarding this review. I think what really frustrates me, and I'm sure frustrates everybody else, is that we, as someone watching on television, has already seen it and has already made the judgment of what it should be, and is still taking 5 or 10 more minutes for these umpires or referees to do it.
Yep. I mean we get a bunch of different angles pretty quickly, and they haven't even put the headset on yet by the time we've gotten a couple of different angles.
That's what the problem is. I mean, especially when they're going to New York to look at it or wherever to look at it. They should have already looked at it before these guys even gotten the headsets on.
Well, how do you feel about just, measure the need for accuracy versus the need for speed? How do you balance the two
Well,
as a fan, as a viewer?
Well, I think what they're doing right now with the whole pat down, spread your legs, hands against the wall thing is a little ridiculous. But what gets me is this. You can sit here and complain about all these things. The worst thing I've been seeing all year in college and in pro baseball, the strike zone. My God, 1 minute, you can be a little bit off the plate and get the strike. The next minute, it's a ball. They're so inconsistent from, inning to inning. It's ridiculous. And I know you can't, especially when they have those strike zone boxes up, it really shows you how inconsistent baseball is in the callings of balls and strikes. And no umpire can tell you what their zone is. It depends on who's pitching, how they feel about them, if they'll give them that little inch off the plate or not. And that's just drives me nuts.
The thing, and thank you for your phone call. The thing about home plate umpires, umpiring in particular, Chris, when you think about it, there's no other officials that work games that are more involved than Major League or baseball umpires, would you say? There's an umpire making a call on practically every play. I guess you could look at the NFL and say an NFL official makes a call on almost every play. And see, when you think about it, like umpires, they don't have to make a call on a foul ball or a base hit. Ball in play, they don't have to make a call on. I'm talking about the home plate umpire. If football officials, they don't have to make a call on every play, or they probably could make a call on holding or something like that almost every play. They'll go several plays and there'll be no calls. But my point is, when it comes back to baseball, the human element of the umpire being involved, and Andy's talking about the strike zone and the fact that the umpire is human and everyone is different, then everyone has a little bit different strike zone. And part of the beauty and charm of baseball is knowing who the umpire is and knowing what his historical strike zone is and knowing how to adjust to that during a game.
Your point, though, doesn't that sound ridiculous? Because a home plate umpire is the only official in any sport who is able to interpret the rules differently from his colleagues. There's not an official that works in an NFL game that can look at a holding call. I guess technically maybe they look at it a little bit differently, but for the most part, it's black and white. But a strike zone always appears to be in that gray area, and it varies from umpire to umpire. And one thing that I have noticed, and this has happened over the years, and I'm sure it's an NCAA deal, you notice during the College World Series that K-Zone is not up on the screen. We don't get a chance to sit and watch the game and say, ooh, he missed a call there. Ooh, he got that strike call right. He missed that one, like you can do in Major League Baseball. And my guess is the NCAA probably has told ESPN, don't put that up there. We don't want to embarrass our umpires any more than we do, because I think everybody would agree strike zone at the major league level is a lot tighter than it is in college baseball, and certainly at the high school level. If it weren't, games would last 5, 6, 7 hours if that were the case.
Sure. All right, thank you for the call. 888-898-2525. Continue on the South Carolina Education Lottery Lucky Lines here on Sports Talk. Billy in Somerville, welcome in tonight. How are you, sir?
Good. How you doing, Phil?
Good.
First of all, with the interview, if the instant replay is going to be that bad, especially with the NBA basketball, then this got to go. That was just ridiculous for them to take that long to have one play, then for them to stop it for like that many minutes for the game to be over in 2 minutes. I've never seen that before in my life.
Well, and also, if you're the Clippers, you got to say, wait a minute. Okay, the review went in the Suns' favor, but you're giving the Suns a free timeout. They were out of timeouts. They could have drawn up that play, probably not executed had they not had, how long was that delay? About 2 minutes to sit over there and talk about it? Okay, DeAndre, you come off of here. You set this pick. You roll around the pick. Throw it up near the rim. Booyah. They couldn't have done that with no time, no timeouts.
No,
NBA's got to fix that.
And as far as with baseball is concerned, I feel like I was watching Major League 2 last night, watching the movies, because that was so ridiculous. And it's like they're trying to ruin every sport. They've already got set where if you go into extra innings, you got to have a player on second base.
Yeah.
And now they're doing this with the pitchers. And I mean, it's just like they're ruining the sports in every category.
Well, on the one hand, they're trying to speed things up. On the other hand, they're slowing things down. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Thanks for your phone call. We'll continue after the break.
Point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast, mostly clear this evening with the low dropping to 65. Tomorrow will be glorious, all sunshine and a high temp of 84. Where Friday it's a mix of sun and clouds and a high back up to 88. For the weekend, mostly cloudy and a 40% chance of showers both Saturday and Sunday. Highs in the middle to upper 80s. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has told a congressional panel that failing to raise the federal debt ceiling would have absolutely catastrophic consequences that could bring on a financial crisis. Testifying Wednesday before a Senate Appropriations Subcommittee, Yellen said in response to questions that it is important that Congress not delay in dealing with the debt limit, which has been suspended for the past 2 years. That suspension is due to expire on July 31st, when the limit will go back into effect at the level of debt at that time. The debt subject to the limit currently stands at $28.3 trillion. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 71 points, the Nasdaq rose 18, the S&P declined 4. More details at srnnews.com.
So your home is your castle. I work hard all day. My reward is time at my home with my family, living comfortably. I don't want to worry for a moment about bugs and pests. I've had Palmetto Exterminators taking care of my home for 19 years. Now, that's a long time without worrying about pest control or infestation or termites, and that's because Palmetto Exterminators takes care of it all. Might not matter to some people, but you know what it does to me? They're family-owned. They've been doing this the right way for over 60 years. The staff is courteous. They're clean. They're totally professional. And you know, it's termite season. Palmetto Exterminators offers a free inspection. They'll customize the program to fit your needs and your family's budget. They offer a lifetime warranty with their termite agreement. Now, I speak from experience. Like I said, 19 years with the same company. I can't give a more glowing recommendation than the one I proudly give to Palmetto Exterminators. Online, palmettoexterminators.net, or call my guy, Ron Byers, 254-5833. That's 254-5833, Palmetto Exterminators.
Now, who could that be?
It's Dominion Energy. I signed us up for a home energy checkup. It's time we learn how to save energy and money.
How much does it cost?
Not a dime. It's free, and it only takes about an hour. Plus, we get a report on things we can do to make our home more energy efficient.
I don't know. Sounds too good to be true.
No. See for yourself at DominionEnergySC.com.
Where?
DominionEnergySC.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org, federally insured by the NCUA.
Getting involved in your community is easier than you think. If you can click, you can help. If you can share a status, you can lend a hand. If you can log on, you can give back. Because when you volunteer virtually with AARP, you can help your community without even leaving home. AARP has all kinds of opportunities to get you started and will provide the support you need to make it easy and fun. Your community needs volunteers like you. Get involved at aarp.org/volunteer here.
We've all come a long way together over the last year. Now we need everybody across Columbia to get vaccinated and put COVID behind us once and for all. COVID vaccines are safe, effective, and free. Everyone in the Benjamin family
have gotten their vaccinations, even our youngest. Just like our family has done and like so many others across the Midlands, it's important to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community. We're almost there. It's your shot, Columbia.
We are back on Sports Talk Media Network. Good to have you with us, Chris Bergen, joining Pat Daniel, and yours truly. I got out of order here, Phil Kornblut. That was weird. 888-898. I was thinking
You just
of
went
myself.
alphabetically. You hit it right. You went alphabetically.
I was thinking of myself
Bergen, Daniel,
as
Kornblut.
you. 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Inviting your phone calls. A few important notes to touch on tonight. The finalists for the LSU baseball coaching job, according to Glenn Gulbo, down there covering LSU. He's got the perfect name for covering LSU, Gulbo or Galbo. Anyway, he writes the finalists are Arizona's Jay Johnson, East Carolina's Cliff Godwin, and Notre Dame's Link Jarrett. Okay.
Surprised that Mike Bianco is not in that mix, too, the coach at Ole Miss.
No, he took his name out. He took his name out about 4 or 5 days ago. Said he was staying at Ole Miss. Jeff Gordon is leaving the booth with Fox. You see this?
I did.
He is going to become a vice chairman of Hendrick Motorsports. And thus he leaves the Fox booth. So now they've lost DW. Now they've lost Gordon. I wonder who will they put in? I mean, Junior's tied up with NBC, right? Unless they go over and try and grab him away. I would. I'd pour the money, whatever it takes. I don't know what the deal is, but I'd put the money out there to get Junior. What do you think?
And well, that's not a bad move, but what they're really going to, on down the line, it's not going to be too much longer when Mike Joy finally decides he's ready to hang it up too. And when Fox loses Mike Joy, who in my mind is one of the best television announcers, period, of any sport, that's going to be who gets the play-by-play gig for NASCAR when he's gone. But, yeah, I mean, the interesting thing, if you brought Dale Jr. over, you pit him now with oh, shoot. My mind just went blank. The other color commentator that they just brought in for Fox.
Yeah, the was it Boyer?
Clint Boyer, yes, Clint Boyer.
Yeah.
You put those two together, and both of them are sort of the hokey sidekick, for lack of a better term. They need an analyst like Jeff Gordon, and I just don't know who's out there that would fit that bill. That might be something KT can touch on next week, or Jeff Owens might have some insight on.
Oh, I'm sure. The problem I have with NBC and Junior and Jeff Burton is when I can't tell which one is talking between Junior and Burton. They sound too much alike. I really have a hard time distinguishing between the two. But I mean, you got to think about name, and you got to think about Q rating and impact and all that. Besides their knowledge, and who can you get that would be great in that role? Tony Stewart? Would Tony Stewart be interested in doing it?
But he's in an ownership role, I guess, similar to what Jeff Gordon is going to be doing, moving up into the front office at Hendrick Motorsports. I don't know what kind of fit. He'd be a good fit, I would think. His personality, I don't know how well that translates to TV. I'll tell you somebody who might be good once he decides to retire. Ryan Newman might be an interesting one when he finally steps away on down the road. But immediate, I don't know who they can get to fill the shoes of Jeff Gordon. Fortunately for whomever, they get to work alongside Mike Joy, and that makes that job a whole lot easier.
No question. I mean, maybe I happen to love Larry McReynolds.
I do as well.
I happen to think Larry McReynolds does a great job and is just your racers, your fans. How can I word this? He's a racer's racer and a fan's fan. In other words, he knows his stuff, but he comes across as a guy sitting next to you in the stands, And I really like him. They've sort of diminished his role there.
Agreed. And that was
over the last few years, and I don't know what that deal is all about.
Yeah, that was a huge mistake in my mind when they moved, when they brought Clint Boyer in. They started to phase Larry Mack over to just sort of the technical side of the coin, and I think he's much, much better than what they've allowed him to do. He could fit right back into that slot easily, I would think. And I happen to like the Fox crew a lot better than the NBC crew too. So
yeah.
But that's just my personal.
I generally have enjoyed Fox more than NBC, but now NBC's got it for the summer, I believe at this point now, right? It's
That's correct.
They've picked up the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Emmert, NCAA president, said today they're working on interim rules that will permit athletes to earn money off their fame and celebrity by July and act as a bridge until there's a permanent solution. He sent a memo to member schools. AP got their hands on it. He acknowledged the current uncertainty across college sports as it moves toward allowing name, image, likeness compensation for athletes. And the Athletic first quoted him from the memo, quote, "We are focused on providing you additional guidance to make the introduction of the NIL era as smooth as possible," end quote. So it says here 6 states have laws that go into effect July 1: Texas, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, New Mexico. Now, the law that South Carolina just signed, does that not go into effect until next year? Is that why they're not on this list, or are they just missing South Carolina? When does the South Carolina law go into effect?
I think it is 2022.
2022. Yes, some states have approved it, but they've delayed implementation. South Carolina is one of those. So the states that have the laws that go into effect July 1, and their laws would undercut existing NCAA rules, give athletes the opportunity to be paid by third parties for things such as sponsorship deals, online endorsements, and personal appearances. Several other state laws could also go into effect in July. Without NCAA action, athletes in some states could be making money without putting their college eligibility in jeopardy, while their counterparts in other states could be in danger of breaking NCAA rules. You know,
that
so typical of NCAA inaction. Okay, so here we are. You know the NIL's coming. You know it's been coming down the road for a long, long time. You know the date was July 1 of 2021, and here it is. And you're going to be hanging out part of your people to dry in this particular case because they don't know. I mean, their state might have it. Their state might not have it. If their players go and do something, are they going to be violating NCAA rules? But again, I think what he's saying here is anybody that does anything along the lines of the NIL to make your money, they're going to let it slide. They're not going to hammer you.
Well, I have 2 questions on this, and you mentioned about without NCAA action, and this is from the ESPN story, athletes in some states could be making money without putting their college eligibility in jeopardy. So the state laws, and I may have been looking at this wrong all along because my assumption was regardless of what the state law said, if the NCAA still banned you making money on the side or you would be ineligible, my guess is that means that's not the case and state law supersedes what the NCAA does. So if that is indeed the case, what happens here in South Carolina when our law doesn't go into effect until July 2022 and the NCAA comes out with a situation, say, in the next 7 days? Are South Carolina, Clemson, Coastal, Wofford, whatever the case may be, are our athletes going to be able to take advantage of the NIL, even though in our states it's not state law until next year? How's all this going to work?
I think that's the purpose of today's memo. I think the purpose of the memo today, like they said, it's a bridge. And in his words, or in the words of this story, they're saying that the association is working on interim rules that will permit the athletes to earn money off their fame and celebrity by July. They're calling it a bridge until there is a permanent solution. So I think everybody's going to be okay. I think everybody who can go out and get their endorsements and have their third party pay them for whatever on Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is you can make your money on, I think the NCAA is just going to let you go. I don't know what exactly their interim rules are going to be. Are they going to come out with name, image, and likeness?
They found that out on Monday. The Supreme Court made that very clear that the NCAA has very little power here. So it now goes back to the ceremonial signing that Governor McMaster had, a week or so ago up at Clemson. That is probably going to be about as important as the law itself, because if the NCAA goes ahead and approves something in the next couple of weeks, we don't need a law then, do we? And none of these states will need a law, will they?
Yeah, right. If the NCAA, I mean, it just depends on what the NCAA comes out with, because let's face it, federal law and state law trumps NCAA regulations, do they not? So if the NCAA were to come out, let's just say the NCAA were to come out and say, okay, you can have make money off your name, image, likeness, but you can't make more than $2,500 a semester. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the state laws are saying you can make as much as you want. You just go make your money, and there's no limits on that. I guess you got to pay taxes on it in there. State law, the state governments aren't going to pass laws that allow you to make money without you paying taxes. So keep that in mind. But I don't think there's anything that the NCAA can institute that would override a state or federal law.
Well, I don't want this to become, Law 101 on Sports Talk.
Because we would fail. We would fail, and we would fail hard.
Well, and it brings up an interesting point, too, with regards to marijuana legislation. And I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, but
no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. If you're in a state that has legalized marijuana, but that is still banned by the NCAA as a performance-enhancing drug, if you will, what's the rule there?
Yeah, what's
because
the deal
I think
in
these
Colorado?
are fairly similar.
What's the deal in Colorado, for example?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, you're a college athlete in Colorado or a pro athlete in Colorado, and you can
Washington State.
Is that another one?
Mm-hmm.
You can walk down the street and buy it and smoke it and chew it and eat it and whatever else you want to do and get whatever buzz you want off of it. But you can still be, I guess, I don't know. How does that work with the NCAA and professional sports? Again, you're talking about a state law versus an organization's regulations. Who trumps who there?
My guess is, judging by what we're seeing right now with the NIL, it's the states who have the say. Because if what is in that story today is true, and that's why I brought up the marijuana situation as well, because I thought they were interesting comparisons.
Mm-hmm.
But if what is in that ESPN story, that the 6 states, once their law goes into effect on July 1st, if the NCAA hasn't fixed its current legislation, then athletes in, Texas and some of the other states that are listed, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and New Mexico, would get a head start on everybody else. So my assumption is, if that's the case, then the state laws in Texas and Alabama and New Mexico trump the NCAA, which, if that's the case in Colorado with marijuana legislation, I would think that's the same there.
What you got, Pat?
I just found an article from April 28th in the Post and Courier. This may shed a little light here if I'm understanding correctly. It's quotes from Governor Henry McMaster saying that he signed the bill into law, but would have it not go into effect for a year so as to allow the NCAA itself or Congress to settle the matter first. So the way I'm interpreting that is he's doing this kind of like what you were saying a moment ago, Chris, in case the NCAA has not gotten their ducks in a row by 2022, the South Carolina law would now supersede them having it be illegal by their record. But that was his reasoning for pushing it a year, was to allow them the opportunity to get it figured out first.
I think he's also doing it, too, at the urging of Clemson and South Carolina, so they can say to recruits, hey, we've got our NIL law in our state. You will be able to do this rather than not having that law and that being used against them in recruiting. Absolutely. Where other states might have it. They can say, hey, you don't want to go to that state. You don't go to that school in that state. You can't make any money off your name, image, and likeness. They can come back and say, no, we've got it. We've got that law too. It goes into effect in 22, but we're hoping, I think everybody is hoping, the NCAA, when I say everybody, I think all political sides of this thing and legal sides of it, they would love for the NCAA to do something and have something in place that's agreeable and acceptable to everybody, instead of politicians having to become involved. As you can tell, with all the different hearings we've had recently up on Capitol Hill about this, the more they look into it, the more they want to get involved, and the more they get involved, the worse it's going to be for everybody.
Doubt. Let's get Governor government out of sports as much as we can, and I think you're right in saying that the state legislatures and the federal government, they want the NCAA to handle this, because if it happens to blow up in all of our faces who cover sports, and we see it happen at the collegiate level, they can say, the politicians can come back. No. We didn't pass it. This is an NCAA law. They're the ones who've messed it up. You call Mark Emmert. You leave us alone.
Yeah. So let's get rid of politicians involved in college sports and also instant replay. And also let's figure out what's going on with baseball.
We have fixed sports tonight, Phil.
I think so.
We have fixed all the problems.
I think
our work is done.
I think we have. You know, here's the other thing that came out last night that I heard on ESPN is that now, and this was a couple of different pitchers they cited, and one of them was Scherzer, and there was another pitcher. But now all of a sudden, you notice all of a sudden the spin rates are dropping considerably. So, I mean, have all these pitchers been cheating? Have they all been using foreign substances this season up to this point now? And these spin rates are all of a sudden starting to drop because the pitchers don't have the stuff on the baseball?
I think it makes sense. I don't know if I would classify every single pitcher at the major league level cheating, but it does seem to make sense that if you have a harder time gripping the baseball, and I am by no means an expert on pitching, but if it's more difficult to grab the baseball, you would think the spin rate coming out of your hand would be a little less. The rotation wouldn't be nearly as tight as if you have a little tacky substance on your fingertips that allows you to spin it in there. So, yeah, makes perfect sense. I totally get that. I've heard from batters, too, who are concerned that a guy throwing 95 miles per hour, they knew for the most part that he was going to be able to get it into the strike zone because he held onto the ball better. Now, that 95 mile per hour fastball may end up around his ear hole, and nobody wants that.
Yeah. All right, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. If you want to join us here on the program, let me continue with a few other top notes of the day. South Carolina will not be a part of the SEC Big 12 Challenge this basketball season. They announced the pairings. You know, you've got 4 teams more in the SEC excuse me, than you have in the Big 12, which makes perfect sense. A league that calls itself, a league with 12 has 10, but a league that calls itself with 10 has 12. The Big 10 has 12. The Big 12 has 10. That's just so typical of college sports, is it not? Anyway, I mean, there are attempts to maintain history, but at the same time, kill history by expanding for the sole purposes of television. History be damned, but we'll keep our historical name, even though it makes absolutely no sense. All right. Even though the Big Ten, of course, has tried to market itself as 10 states, right? Schools in 10 states. That's what the Big Ten all of a sudden morphed into. Instead of 10 schools, it became 10 states. And let's just call them the Big. That's what they want to be called, just the Big. Anyway, your pairings will be Baylor at Alabama, West Virginia at Arkansas, Oklahoma at Auburn, Oklahoma State at Florida, Kentucky at Kansas, LSU at TCU, Kansas State at Ole Miss, Mississippi State at Texas Tech. No, I don't get stuck on that. I just like saying it that way. Missouri at Iowa State, and Tennessee at Texas. So the teams that are out are South Carolina, Texas A&M, Georgia, and Vanderbilt. So obviously the SEC wants to try to win this thing because they took 4 teams that had bad seasons last year and left them out. Those teams all had really bad years last year and left them out. So
no doubt. I tell you, that Alabama-Baylor game, that's an intriguing matchup. I will be really curious to see what Baylor brings back off of that national championship team, Phil, considering the amount of players that they lost off that squad. Now, I guess everybody has a chance to come back, but whether or not that actually materializes down in Waco remains to be seen, but Baylor was outstanding last year, and Alabama's not far off from being an elite team, too.
Well, Baylor was a Final Four team, right?
Yeah, they won the national championship.
Oh, that's right. They won the whole thing. I don't know.
Yeah, so they were in the Final Four.
I cannot remember.
And, guys, it's worth noting
UCLA was in the Final Four, too, right? Yeah.
South Carolina being left out of this Big 12 SEC Challenge may have helped lead to South Carolina scheduling that game against Florida State up in Rock Hill.
Possibly. Possibly. Also, from Bet Online, they put out some football odds on some select games, what they said were some of the top games of the year coming up. And Clemson is a now 3.5-point favorite over Georgia. I think I would take Georgia in those points. Who's taking Georgia in the points?
Not me.
Oh, really?
I'm taking Clemson outright.
Pat, what are you doing, man? Well, I know what you're doing, Pat. That orange underwear is starting to squeeze a little bit.
As much as you may say that, I like to think I can remain objective, but I'm taking Clemson for the mere fact that Georgia is depleted at wide receiver. They have nothing but unproven wide receivers to start the season. They are having to bring in guys to help in corner, including Darion Kendrick, who he may have a chip on his shoulder. But Clemson's loaded.
But he can play.
Sure.
He can play.
I just think Clemson's going to put up a lot of points. Georgia may struggle to keep up.
All right. They've got Alabama 17.5 over Miami. Notre Dame 9.5 over Florida State. Alabama 14.5 over Florida. Florida 15.5 over Tennessee. Clemson 24 over Florida State. And Georgia by 7 over Florida. Again, just some games. There were others, but those were just some that I picked out. The Citadel is going to have a new scoreboard and sound system at Johnson Haygood this season. The center video display will measure 26.5 feet high, 51.5 feet wide, and 4 side displays, each measuring approximately 15.5 feet high and 13 feet wide. An auxiliary display will measure more than 7 feet high by 18 feet wide. These 6 displays all feature, this is what you have in your home, isn't it, Chris? 15 HD pixel layouts. And also, they're going to have a Sports Sound 2000 audio system to be integrated into the video and scoring system at the stadium. This will provide a full range of sound reproduction, deliver clear and intelligible speech, as it says here, for an exceptional listening experience for those in the stadium. Fire those cannons.
Got to do that, though, don't you, Phil, to get fans to come out to the games when the home experience has gotten better than the actual attending the ball games. Schools have to try and go the extra mile to make it a lot more fun to be out there. And I'm guessing the Citadel feels it's time for them to upgrade everything in the stadium themselves.
Yeah, for sure. South Carolina is mourning the loss of Hall of Fame football player Mackie Prickett, passed away Friday at the age of 86. Out of St. Matthew's High School in 1952, went on to star at quarterback at USC, and he was inducted in the USC Athletic Hall of Fame in 1995. Also, we have our poll question of the week. It's a big recruiting weekend at South Carolina. They wrap up the month of June with several official visits, including one of the top tight end prospects in the country in the class, Oscar Delp. Now, you know he's got ties to South Carolina. Mother went there. He's got ties to Clemson. His uncle went there and played. He's from Georgia. Those are his top. Well, those are 3. There are others. I just didn't have room to put them all in there that he has visited. But those are 3 predominant teams with him, I would say. You can throw Alabama in there. You can throw Florida in there as well. You can throw North Carolina in there. The poll question is who's going to get him when he announces in July? Who you got there, Chris?
Oh, goodness. Digging into my wealth of recruiting knowledge, I'm going to lean with our listeners. 48% say USC, but you are the guru of recruiting. What are you hearing?
Well, I don't hear anything. I mean, I just this kid is very good at talking to the media, but he will not tip his hand. And you can draw all kind of conclusions based on what I just told you. A tie here, a tie there, a tie here, a tie there, and he's taking the visits. He's being open-minded about it. He's trying to be fair and across the board to give all these schools a chance. Has he already made up his mind? By the time you go to your last visit, do you think you kind of know where you want to go? Either to the school that you're getting ready to visit or one of the others. But you're right, 48% of our voters, 262 voters, and 48.1% predict he will pick South Carolina. 30.2% predict he will pick Georgia. 16.4% predict he will pick Clemson. 5.3% predict he'll pick somebody else besides those 3. We'll find out in July because that's when he plans to announce. Got a full recruiting report coming up for you in the next hour. Morgan on the move. Mike Morgan joins us after the break. Don't forget, tomorrow night at 6:30, East Carolina football coach Mike Houston will be our guest here on Sports Talk. It's the top of the hour. We'll be back.
Weekdays from 7 to 9 on The Point. It's Kev and Brian in the morning. The news, the traffic 4 times an hour, and your daily forecast. Topics to wake you up, topics to make you smile and laugh. Hope you'll join us.
The Point. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. John McAfee, creator of the McAfee antivirus software, has been found dead in his jail cell near Barcelona in an apparent suicide.
McAfee's body was found hours after a Spanish court approved his extradition to the United States to face tax charges. Security personnel at the prison in northeastern Spain tried to revive McAfee, who was 75 years old. But the regional government says the jail's medical team finally certified his death. A government statement says authorities are still investigating, but everything points to death by suicide. John David McAfee started McAfee Associates in 1987 and led an eccentric life after selling his stake in the software company named after him in the early 1990s. I'm Bill Alexander in Washington.
President Biden has unveiled several steps to stem a rising tide of violent crime sweeping the nation.
The president's plan focuses on addressing gun violence, and it puts gun dealers who break federal law on notice.
We'll make sure you can't sell death and mayhem on our streets. It's an outrage. It has to end, and we'll end it.
Mr. Biden also proposes providing more money to cities that need more police. Meanwhile, the Justice Department is launching strike forces in 5 large cities to help take down illegal gun traffickers. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Correspondent Joseph Krause reports Israel has approved the demolition of a Palestinian home following a deadly shooting.
Israel's Supreme Court today upheld the demolition order for the home of Montassar Shaladi and his family in the occupied West Bank. Montassar Shaladi was arrested last month, and he's accused of carrying out a drive-by shooting that killed an Israeli and wounded 2 others. And this is a policy that Israel has in which it will destroy the family home of an attacker who has already been killed or arrested.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 71 points. The Nasdaq rose 18. The S&P declined 4. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful in lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question. Pete and Seth Talbot, the father and son founders of Relief Factor, tell me they believe our bodies were designed to heal. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, 100% drug-free ingredients that each help your body deal with inflammation. Order the 3-week quick start now. Discount it to only $19.95 to see if it will work for you too. Call 800-500-8384. ReliefFactor.com.
With a Democratic sweep officially in place, we are now at the mercy of tax and spend economics. Get ready for runaway national debt pushing the further devaluation of the dollar. So if you haven't invested in gold, now is the time to protect your savings. Birch Gold Group is the premier precious metals IRA company in America. With an A+ BBB rating and thousands of satisfied customers, Birch Gold can help you move an eligible IRA or 401k into an IRA backed by gold. Go to birchgold.com/radio for your free information kit. That's birchgold.com/radio.
In another blow to freedoms in Hong Kong, the city's largest pro-democracy paper, Apple Daily, has announced its closure.
This is really the end of the single biggest media outlet of the pro-democracy camp, the end of an era. Many people have been expecting it to come somehow because back in around March, there's been widespread rumors that the government would take it down by the first anniversary of the introduction of the national security law. And this year, more importantly, is the centenary of the ruling Communist Party.
BBC correspondent Martin Yip reporting from Hong Kong. Changes coming to the leadership of Southwest Airlines. Longtime CEO Gary Kelly will step down next February and be succeeded by Robert Jordan, the airline's executive vice president of corporate services. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast, mostly clear this evening with the low dropping to 65. Tomorrow will be glorious. All sunshine and a high temp of 84. Where Friday it's a mix of sun and clouds and a high back up to 88. For the weekend, mostly cloudy and a 40% chance of showers both Saturday and Sunday. Highs in the middle to upper 80s. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. Please press button now. No, number 1.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network. On this Wednesday night, good to have you along with us. Phil Kornblut here at our Columbia studios with Pat Daniel, and coming to us from his humble abode in the PD along the Black River, high atop the mountains that surround Florence. It is are any mountains in Florence? Chris
No.
Bergen.
Very few hills, for that matter. Pretty
There's a little bit
flat
of a
over here in the
skyline,
PD.
though. I was over there the other day. I did notice a little bit of a skyline from McLeod over at McLeod Hospital.
Mhm.
It's like it was, popping up there pretty good. Pretty good. All right, it's time to welcome into Sports Talk a man whose Christian name is Mike Morgan, but like so many big-time stars these days, he doesn't want to be called that anymore. He wants to be known by his Twitter handle, which is @Morgan on the air. Is that what it is?
Do you still go home and play video games on your Commodore 64, Phil?
It is Morgan. What is it? Morgan on air, right?
Morgan on air. Yes, it has been for about 10 years now, but thanks for noticing.
Mike Morgan, also known as @Morgan on air, brought to you by Stuart Wingo of Amherst Mortgage. You can save thousands on a refi, a new mortgage today at 803-319-1777. Good to have you with us once again. So what do you think of the World Series to this point?
I think it's been very entertaining. I think it's going to draw a good number. I mentioned last week, I think, that very quiet week, the Super Regionals did really well. We had the highest rated, our Game 2, Arkansas NC State, who's become a major story in Omaha now. We had over 800,000 viewers for that one college baseball game on a Saturday afternoon. And I would imagine with 8 brand name schools in Omaha, it's going to do well also. I've enjoyed the coverage. I've enjoyed the games. We've had offense, which was lacking, years ago. If you remember, before we fixed the baseballs, when we moved into that new ballpark, I think you had one World Series where in every game combined, there were 3 home runs. We've had games alone that have had more than 3 home runs, but we've also had a 1-0 shutout, NC State over Vanderbilt. So, great pitching can still dominate, but if you barrel a baseball, it goes out of the yard, which it should. So the ballpark is playing more fair. The competition has been good. I think the quality of play has been outstanding. I think it's been really good so far. And I think, the 2 teams that find themselves in the driver's seat are both great stories. NC State, I've talked about on your show just because I had them quite a bit over the last few weeks. Elliot Avent, who's a good friend of Ray Tanner's, is a guy that is a grinder and has probably only got a few years left. So for him to go to Omaha and have a chance to win it all would be a phenomenal story. And Mississippi State, 11 World Series for that fine program, going back to Ron Polk and others. And they've never won it all. And of course, in the case of Coach Lamonis, as you know, ties to the state of South Carolina. So that would be a great story as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hard to believe that Mississippi State team with all those great players, all those trips, they've never won the whole thing. What about last night? Just goes to show you the nature of baseball, man. I mean, Virginia's closer, Shook comes in there. No, Shock. I'm sorry. Shock comes in there. And, I mean, they just, they were cruising and just let it get away from them. And now they got to fight their way back up through the losers bracket.
Yeah, they do. I mean, and look, Virginia's another good story, and Coach O'Connor is terrific. Won the national championship, the last ACC school to do so, and when he won it, they hadn't won a national championship in baseball since the 50s. So, his credentials speak for themselves, and much like Kevin O'Sullivan and Mike Bianco, he's also not taking the LSU job. Let that be a lesson to any fans that think, you just get whoever you want. LSU's not getting who they want. They're going to wind up with their fourth choice in all likelihood. But yeah, I think yesterday's game, to go back to your initial question, was yet another thing that we want to see in a great World Series, which is some drama, some late inning drama. And Mississippi State had that. And then they have Landon Sims. With all the talk of Kevin Kopps, and I have nothing but complete respect and admiration for Kevin Kopps and what he did this year for Arkansas. The Landon Sims is just as good. He wasn't as dominating. Nobody on the planet was, but in terms of pure stuff, Landon Sims is ridiculously good. So to have a fresh team. Remember, the thing that separates Omaha from the SEC tournament or regionals or super regionals, you get all these days off in between games.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're 2-0, you get an extra day off. So, I mean, you get 2 days to rest up your entire pitching staff. Now, they're not going to be like Phil Kornblut and be at the blackjack table in Council's Bluff, Iowa till 3 in the morning. They're actually going to.
I wouldn't bet against it.
Well, maybe a couple of them will. But for the most part, it's going to be a good chance to rest up and get ready. And that's why you have such an advantage. When you go 2-0 in Omaha and you get the extra days off and you have to play fewer games, that's such an advantage for both those schools.
By the way, that reminds me, since you brought it up, have you been able to take your theorem for winning at roulette and market it in some way?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. So you and I are both out there 02, 03, 04.
Mm-hmm.
And I win money in roulette each time. I'm like Rain Man, okay? I've got a system. And I'm thinking, well, if it worked at the Harrah's in Council Bluffs, Iowa for 3 straight years, it'll work anywhere.
Right.
And then I remember going with a friend of mine on not a cruise, but a ferry from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas. And they had a roulette wheel. And I swear that thing was rigged. But needless to say,
you lost everything.
I lost everything. So my system only works at the Harrah's in Council Bluffs, Iowa, nowhere else.
Yeah.
Mike Morgan on the move, previewing and talking College World Series with us here tonight on Sports Talk. And Mike, I'm just curious, not being a big gambler, but since you brought it up, I understand counting cards might work in blackjack, but what kind of possible system could you have for roulette?
Well, this is not going to be new to anybody out there who's a big gambler who's played roulette. I believed in probability. And so, if I saw 10 black in a row, then I would bet red and vice versa. Well, it's amazing how different casinos, that theory, once you hit the 18th consecutive red, how much money you've lost and how your theory goes right in the toilet.
Yes.
And that happened to me not only on the ferry, it happened to me in Vegas, it happened to me the Beau Rivage in Mississippi, because I went to there in between doing games. So yeah, needless to say, my best percentages over the years were when I didn't have any money on the line, and we used to do a college football pick contest on my old talk show back in South Carolina. I called it the Unfab 5 Challenge, and we'd go up against listeners and my co-host. And I had a couple of years there where I did 65 to 70%. But as the gamblers will tell you, It's a lot easier to be right when you got nothing riding on it, and that is so true.
Sure.
Valid point. Valid point. All right, back to baseball for a moment, and dovetailing off your comments about the length of time between games. NC State, Mississippi State, you would think will have their pitching set up for the weekend, but is Vanderbilt in as good a position should they win tonight over Stanford? Because more than likely when they play on Friday against NC State, they may be able to get Kumar Rocker back, or the worst case scenario, if have to play him again on Saturday, they certainly could. So is Vanderbilt still in a really, really good position to perhaps win this thing?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. When we talked, I guess the beginning, I thought that the three teams have the best chance of winning this. Were Texas, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt, and all three for different reasons. But those were the three I would have taken if this were, say, a Vegas type format. And Vanderbilt, their obvious reason is, yeah, of course they're good. They're good every year. I'm not sure they're the most talented team there, but they're right up there. But mainly they've got that 1-2 punch. Well, Kumar Rocker, got humbled a little bit in the last game, but the next time he would be on just about, if I'd have to do the math on this, if it's not a full, rest, I mean, it's real close to say what a normal pitcher would have at the next level, something in the neighborhood of 4 days. And so you got Kumar Rocker, and then if you can win that, then you double up with Leiter behind him. So yeah, Vanderbilt is one of those teams that could go through the losers bracket and still win this thing. They're equipped to do it. Most teams, even teams good enough to get to Omaha, are not equipped to do that. In 2002, we're out there and Carolina loses the first game, gets shut out, and at that point you're thinking you're done. You can't go through the losers bracket. But sure enough, they beat Nebraska, they beat Clemson once, they beat Clemson twice, they beat Georgia Tech, and they get all the way to the title game in Texas. And back then, you didn't have as many days off, and back then, of course, you played one game instead of a best 2 out of 3 series. So every change that has been made in Omaha over time has helped teams that lose a game still have a fair chance, a fair fight, if you will, to win it all because of the way the format is set up. And Vanderbilt, even more so, because they have two of the best college pitchers in the country, two guys that are going to be drafted in the top 10 in a matter of days.
They've got to get through tonight, and right now Stanford with an early 1-0 lead on Vanderbilt. And Mike, if you will, handicap tomorrow's game, Texas-Virginia. I think that may be one of the better games of the entire tournament, considering how well Virginia has played in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they're not going to have Andrew Abbott, and that's the guy that got them their first win in Omaha and pretty much set the tone for Tennessee to go out. And again, kudos to Tennessee, but the reason I didn't think they'd last long is because, again, they were so in awe of being there. When you haven't been there, it's really hard to advance. But I think I would say advantage Texas. I still think Texas is a really good squad that is equipped as well. Even though they've got a loss under their belt, they could hang around for a while. So I would take Texas in that one.
All right. Last thing before we let you go, after we saw what happened last night between the Phillies and the Nationals, where are we going to go with this stuff with the pitchers and the umpires? Where's it going to go?
Well, Rob Manfred is stay hot, Commissioner. I mean, how many more egregiously bad moves can he make? He overreacts to this and then makes a rule change in the middle of the season, which is unheard of in the history of baseball. This after moving the All-Star game from Atlanta because of a law he doesn't really know much about. And as I've said, there are people that are living under bridges here that have IDs. So he just continues to meddle and do everything the worst possible way. It's an embarrassment for Major League Baseball. It's embarrassing for the pitchers. It's embarrassing for the umpires that are just doing their job. They're not doing this unilaterally. They've been told to check every pitcher after the first inning. It's insane. And I don't know how much longer they're going to go through this charade. But it's a bad look. And everybody is laughing at the decision to make this a rule. But that's what Rob Manfred has done in his infinite wisdom.
Yeah, or lack thereof. Mike, At Morgan on air, right?
That's right. There's this thing called Twitter, and it's on a thing called the internet.
Oh, okay.
Where you're able to go on a computer and
do you have to
type
pay
in
for
3
that?
W's.
Do you have to pay for that?
No, it's free.
Okay.
No, it's absolutely free. Hey, by the way, while we're plugging things and the great technology, there's also a thing called a podcast, and J.C. Sherbert and I do one called J.C. and Morgan. A little more than a week ago, we interviewed Shane Beamer, a really good, not your typical, what's the Too Deep look like, but just a background on him. He was gracious enough to give us his time, and we've had a lot of downloads already, and that is also free, Phil. So you'll be happy to know you won't have to take out that wallet, not that you ever do.
Funny, the last time we had Shane on, my first question to him was, "What's your Too Deep look like?" So I'm glad you didn't go there.
And then you broke out the pocket schedule and said, now, Shane, could give me a win or a loss. Week 1, week 2, week 3. I got to tell you, I've got you going 12-0.
That's right.
Clemson and Carolina, 12-0, meeting in the playoffs.
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, man. I'm feeling the love over there. Feeling it. All right, Mike. You have a good one. We'll talk to you next week, my man.
Look forward to it, guys.
Yeah,
Take care.
Thank you so much. All right, Mike Morgan. At Morgan
that guy
on
missed
air.
his calling. I'm telling you, he missed his calling.
Television, radio. He's got it all covered.
He should be a stand-up comedian, Phil. I'm telling you, the guy is hysterical.
Well, he usually sits down.
Is.
He usually sits down when he tells his jokes. So, getting him to stand up would be he's got that big old lazy boy where he does his play-by-play from, since they haven't had to travel.
Yeah.
He does it from the lazy boy, which fits him perfectly, I might add. This is a guy that, bought a beautiful house in Atlanta. Has got a yard that's about maybe 2 cubic square feet. Or 2 cubic feet. Is that cubic square feet? No, 2 cubic feet. Not very large is my point, which fits him perfectly. All right, we'll come back with the recruiting report after the break.
Founders is offering a low-rate mortgage with up to $4,000 in closing costs to full-time hospital employees, honoring your frontline efforts against COVID-19. With no PMI, no origination fee, and no limit on the loan amount, you can't go wrong. Visit founders.com/HEC and apply for your hospital employee choice mortgage today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Institution NMLS identifier number 410646. Founders is an equal housing lender and is federally insured by the NCUA.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut of Sports Talk here with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. What words of wisdom do you have for those hitting the water this summer?
Phil, collisions can be prevented easily if every vessel operator fulfills 3 major responsibilities. 1, practice good seamanship. It's the responsibility of every boat or PWC operator to take all necessary action to avoid a collision. 2, keep a proper lookout. Failing to keep a sharp lookout is the most common cause of boating collisions. And finally, maintain a safe speed. Remember, boat safe, boat smart.
The Southeastern Institute of Manufacturing and Technology at Florence Darlington Technical College specializes in sophisticated manufacturing services and workforce development training. The SIMT offers rapid prototyping, additive manufacturing, advanced machining, and business incubation services to clients from across the state and nation, plus social media listening services and rentals of conferencing and training spaces. The SIMT also houses an 800-seat auditorium, a conference center that can seat more than 1,200 for dinner or a luncheon, and numerous classroom spaces with state-of-the-art presentation technologies. Visit our website at simt.com or call 866-304-7468 for more information. The SIMT, technology to grow your business. You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
All of us love sports, but not all sports are created equal. College sports have big budgets, dedicated alumni networks, and corporate sponsorships. Professional sports have even deeper pockets, millionaire owners, lucrative TV and radio deals, and merchandise sales. High school sports have you. Everyone agrees high school sports give us plenty of reasons to cheer. And now's a great time for us to give back. Supporting your hometown high school won't cost you much, but it will go a long way to ensuring the games we love the most are here to stay. South Carolina high school sports. They're good for our kids, good for our community, and best of all, they're good for you.
This message presented by the South Carolina High School League and the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
The future of golf is waiting for you at the Players Club. Rain, shine, or after dark, you can enjoy the game of golf anytime at Columbia's Indoor Country Club. The Players Club delivers the most realistic golf experience and offers more than 90 championship courses. Player practice with the same state-of-the-art full-swing simulators used by Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth. Visit maincoursesc.com to book a bay and become a player today at the Players Club, part of the Main Course, 1626 Main Street in Columbia.
All right, Braves and Mets are underway. They are scoreless. First inning up in New York. We do have recruiting coming up, but let's go to Tracy in North Charleston. Back with us again here on Sports Talk. Hello, Tracy. Good to have you with us.
Hello, Phil. How are you?
Good, sir. How you doing?
Doing well. You know, I'm so glad my buddy, again, a shout out, Wardlaw Martin, turned me on to you. I had no idea, like I said before, that you were on. Like 3 quick points, because I know your time is valuable. The Clemson Georgia game, I'll take that dollar bet any day and give you all the points. Substance and all that.
Yep.
Where were these people when the Negro brothers were pitching? And then I'm going to go to one other point that you had brought up earlier when you were talking about instant replay. The only thing, I'm getting so sick and tired of it, I can't stand it, and I'm sure you've had a lot of folks that have voiced that same opinion. But I think the only sport that this doesn't touch, and I may be wrong, is golf. Thank the Lord.
Well, yeah, I mean, golf is an individual sport, and it's like the one sport out there where the contestants, they rule on themselves. You know, they call themselves their own fouls, their own penalties. Of course, they do have, PGA officials out there with them to help them make a judgment, help them make a ruling. But by and large, they call an infraction on themselves. There's a code of honor among golfers.
Yeah, and there should be. I
never follow that code of honor, but I know it's there.
I think me too. But I think we witnessed that in the U.S. Open where they thought the golf ball was booed, and he called it on himself, and then backed up, and then they said, "Okay, let's just go with it."
Yeah,
it looked good.
Pat pointed out that TV viewers they have called in from time to time to the USGA or the PGA office, whichever one's running the event, when they see something, they think they see an infraction on television, and it has resulted in the officials going back and looking at something and catching up with a golfer and penalizing him later on in the round or after the round. We've seen that happen before.
Sure. But I want to get back to one thing, and then I'm gonna go. Like I know time's valuable, but let's get back to Clemson and Georgia. We're going to Charlotte, and we're going to see this butt whooping that Clemson's going to put on Georgia. But if you're good to take that 3.5, let's see. We can't do money because that's illegal. I don't know what
we'll do a. I'm not taking it yet. You're going to have to get back with me in August, okay? I don't wager that far in advance. Listen, Clemson's just a sprained ankle away from
Hey, no,
Iyangalele from being a
You got
very
it.
average team.
You got that right, because I think both our boys, our backups, went to the MLB. But I have no idea if he goes down. I mean, I don't know what's left. And
Well, you're
that's
talking about, and thank you, Tracy. Good hearing from you. You're talking about the Helms kid would be next in line, a guy that's a walk-on, good quarterback in high school. But I mean, look, that's not what they are used to having at quarterback, and that's how dangerously thin they are at that position right now. Hey, thanks for the phone call. We'll be back.
Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast, mostly clear this evening with the low dropping to 65. Tomorrow will be glorious, all sunshine and a high temp of 84. For Friday, it's a mix of sun and clouds and a high back up to 88. For the weekend, mostly cloudy and a 40% chance of showers both Saturday and Sunday. Highs in the middle to upper 80s. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Declaring that the federal government was taking on the bad actors doing bad things to our community, President Biden on Wednesday announced a series of efforts to stem a rising national tide of violent crime. But questions persist about how effective the efforts will be in calming what could be a turbulent summer. Crime rates have risen after plummeting during the initial months of the coronavirus pandemic, creating economic hardship and anxiety. Biden's plan focuses on providing money to cities that need more police, offering community support, and most of all, cracking down on what he called gun violence and those supplying illegal firearms. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 71 points, the Nasdaq rose 18, the S&P 500 declining by 4, and crude oil up 23 cents to 73.08 a barrel. This is SRN News.
You ever notice there's a lot of foundation repair companies in the Midlands? Well, I asked my guys at TerraTech about this. Seems like 80% of the homes end up with foundation issues in the Midlands. It's just the soil around here. So how do you pick the right foundation company if you think you're having an issue? I always start by thinking local. I mean, think local always. Your home is your biggest financial investment. You want someone who's been here a while and isn't going anywhere for a while, and that's TerraTech. They're family-owned, they're AAA approved by the Better Business Bureau, and they are 100% local. They use the highest quality products, and they stand behind their work. And I'm not into scare tactics, no way. But goodness, this is your home. I mean, it's your castle. Walk around it, take a look. If you see cracks in the foundation, just call TerraTech. They'll come out for free. No cost, no obligation. They'll tell you honestly if you have a problem or not. You can trust TerraTech to repair your home. You know I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. Online, it's TerraTechInc.com or call them 791-8888. That's 791-8888 or online at TerraTechInc.com.
We've all come a long way together over the last year. Now we need everybody across Columbia to get vaccinated and put COVID behind us once and for all. COVID vaccines are safe, effective, and free. Everyone in the Benjamin family has gotten their vaccinations, even our youngest. Just like our family has done and like so many others across the Midlands, it's important to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community. We're almost there. It's your shot, Columbia.
There's never an HVAC expert around when you need one. Enter the field in less than 6 months with the Midlands Tech entry-level HVAC Tech program. Evening classes just twice a week for a seriously in-demand field in famously hot Columbia. Practical, hands-on labs with instructors who work in the industry. Focus on diagnosing and troubleshooting HVAC issues. Scholarships are available. Learn more at midlandstech.edu or call 732-0432. Tell them you heard it on The Point and get 10% off the cost of the program.
Hi, this is Michelle Arnold, your host for Travel Buzz, every Monday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on 100.7 The Point. We're here to make your travel dreams a reality. That's Travel Buzz every Monday morning at 9 on The Point.
Hi, honey. Could you drop by True Pharmacy on the way home and pick up another bottle of CBD for me?
Of course. I sure am glad that the CBD is helping you.
Yes. On my last visit to True Pharmacy, the pharmacist answered all my questions about CBD, got me started on a good dose, and I'm feeling much better.
I sure am glad we found True Pharmacy. Their staff is awesome, and they always take the time to care. True Pharmacy, located on Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Divine Street across from Bureau High School.
The only afternoon local talk radio in Columbia is the Afternoon Drive with Kev. It's all about you. It's your phone calls. It's my challenging topics. All the news, traffic, and weather weekdays, 4 p.m. on The Point.
The Point.
We give you the recruiting report here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Seawells. Listen about Seawells Daily Lunch and Buffet. Pat, you go back by there today?
I did not, but I thought about it. It sure was good yesterday.
I exchanged text messages with Dr. Rick today. We're talking about having lunch next week. I might see if I can get him to take me out to Seawells. He is a doctor. He's got plenty of money. He should spring for it. Love to get to Seawells. I might get out there again this week. Chris, you need to come in so I can have you go out to Seawells.
I'd enjoy that myself. I was just thinking, though, it's nice of you to invite Dr. Rick to lunch and have him pay for it.
That's how I roll.
That's a great invitation.
That's how I roll. He doesn't know it yet, but that's how I roll. So the daily luncheon buffet at the Seawells, 11 to 2. Make sure you get there tomorrow or Friday. It's delicious, especially Friday. I don't know if every Friday was like last Friday, but last Friday was spectacular. But get out there tomorrow, too. Thursdays are good, but Fridays are really, really good. You can check out the menus on their website, SeawellsCateringSC.com. And, of course, to line them up for the help you need in putting on that very special event you got coming up. You know you got something you've been waiting to do for a year now. It could be a wedding reception, a birthday party, a corporate outing, awards banquet. Maybe it's a business luncheon. Maybe it's a retirement party, whatever. Call the catering experts at Seawells at 803-771-7385. So in recruiting, we repeat the news from earlier today that USC coach Shane Beamer sent out a commitment alarm. That's what I call it. It's a tweet. His is, that's the difference between Beamer and Muschamp. Muschamp's commitment alarm was Spurs up. Spurs up. Beamer's commitment alarm is welcome home. Welcome. Love and hugs and kisses. Welcome home. That's the difference between the two. Spurs up. Run through a brick wall. Get hit by a truck. Spurs up. Welcome home. Love, kisses. We love you. You'll love us. I mean, don't you see the difference? Am I right? There's a difference. It's a different attitude.
Totally. And I'm like you. I love the Spurs up. If I'm a Gamecock fan, that one resonates with me a lot more. But you're talking to 17, 18-year-old kids, so maybe welcome home actually fits them better. I'm not sure. I do have a question about this recruit that you're about to speak of when you get done, though.
The one that he put out the alarm about?
Yes.
Well, I really can't say too much except to say that they got a commitment from somebody they've been recruiting, who they really like, from what I understand. Young man's going to wait until July 5th to make his announcement. He's withholding all his information, and, who wants to be that guy to spoil somebody's moment like that, right?
And I appreciate you not spoiling the moment if you indeed know who it is. But my question is, why would Shane Beamer do this? Why not wait until next week when he's going to make the announcement?
Well,
what's the rush?
That's a good question. I guess maybe he just was excited.
Well, I
wanted
get
to
that.
get it out there. I kind of wish the same thing. I mean, it's kind of it's a heavy burden to bear to, carry this information for a week and not spill it,
Yeah, we can't keep anything a secret anymore in the modern era of social media. I'll be stunned if the news doesn't come out between now and next weekend.
Anyway, I think, from what I can gather, I think the Gamecocks will be happy to get this particular individual. Now, a player coming in this weekend is defensive back Keenan Nelson, 6'1", 200. Recently announced his top 10, and USC was in that group. Penn State, Maryland, Pitt, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Tennessee, West Virginia, Rutgers, Temple, Virginia Tech. This really looks like a USC Penn State thing now. And South Carolina's been on him a lot. And he's been talking to Pete Limbo and Torian Gray quite a bit. They like that he's a big corner, can play multiple positions. They liked his film, and they're excited to have him come down for a visit. This is interesting. So he took an official visit to Penn State. You know who his guest host was? Former Gamecock corner Johnny Dixon, who just transferred to Penn State. Yeah. And he said that, Dixon was nice and didn't say anything bad about South Carolina or anything like that. But that was interesting that they would pair him with Johnny Dixon, knowing that South Carolina is probably their biggest competition. He also went to Temple last week in his hometown school. It does appear to be a South Carolina-Penn State thing. And he doesn't have any other visits scheduled after this weekend. So he wants to check out the atmosphere in Columbia, how everything is around the school, how the kids are able to have some fun and stuff like that. And he could make a decision this summer. If not, he'll wait until his season. He's ranked the number 16 corner nationally, number 3 prospect in Pennsylvania in the 24/7 Sports Composite. Other scheduled officials this weekend, and keep in mind, nothing is definite until they show up, subject to change. You've got committed quarterback Braden Davis, defensive end Tomiwa Durajai, his teammate, tight end Oscar Delp, defensive tackle Nick James, cornerback Traquan Fagans, cornerback Chris Graves, defensive tackle Jamari Lyons, cornerback Nikkei Martinez, safety Anthony Rose, linebacker Mason Thomas, and wide receiver Dane Key. Of that group, I'd say the Gamecocks have a legitimate chance, from my own information, a legitimate chance at Durajay, Delp, Lyons, Rose, Thomas. I don't know that much about James as far as his interest. I know he's a major recruit. Never talked to him, so I really can't tell you what he's thinking or feeling. Same thing with Fagans and Graves as well. Graves might be hard to pull away from those schools down in South Florida. Parade of highly ranked talent going through Clemson this month continued Tuesday. Unofficial visit from 4-star defensive end Nigel Leak Kelly, 6'4", 240 of Fort Lauderdale, number 15 ranked defensive lineman nationally in the composite, number 12 prospect in Florida in the composite. And he met with defensive coordinator Brent Venables and said he had a good time on the visit. They toured, they took pictures, liked the whole visit. He said that Venables told him he could be an elite pass rusher. And he said their relationship has always been good. He's had a busy June. Officials to Indiana and LSU. Other unofficials to Florida, Florida State, Miami, Georgia, and FAU. He'll take an official to Oregon this weekend. His plan is to return to Clemson for another visit in the fall. Doesn't know when. And he's going to signing day in December. Last season in 6 games, he had 35 tackles, 21 tackles for loss, and 13 sacks.
Wow.
One-time USC target, tight end Tyrus Washington of Leesburg, Georgia, is going to announce July 7th for UCF, Cincinnati, or Arkansas. USC target, 2023 quarterback Dylan Larnaghan, Snellville, Georgia, was at Georgia yesterday. Speaking of Najali Kelly, today he was at Auburn, and he goes to Georgia Tech as well today. So Auburn today and Georgia Tech today. Defensive end Wilfredo Abar, Cheshire, Connecticut, who had an offer from USC, committed to Stanford. Newberry wide receiver free safety Zach Chalmers, named the top 6 of East Carolina, Coastal Carolina, Indiana, Liberty, Duke, and Appalachian State. Defensive end Jamarian Franklin of Lake City, 6'5", 230, committed to East Carolina.
Good get for East Carolina, Phil. I got to see him play the last couple of years.
Yeah.
He's a talent.
You like him?
He's
huh?
a talent.
Good size, 6'5", 230.
He's a talent.
Yeah.
I think ECU seems to be a really good fit for him.
2023 safety Elliott Washington, 6 feet 190 of Venice, Florida, visited USC today. He's also been to Ohio State, Florida, Alabama, Georgia. 4-star, ranked number 11 safety nationally in his class. Spring Valley defensive end Trey Peterson committed to Army today. You know, his dad was an assistant coach who passed away unexpectedly. His dad was the outstanding baseball player from Greenwood, who was a first-round draft pick of the Pirates way back when. trying to come up with the first name, but good news there for the family that Trey Peterson is going to Army. Unofficial visitor in camp at USC Saturday from Alberta, Canada, defensive tackle Ebenezer Bedada, 6'5", 240. Just now picking up American football. He'll play this season at Clearwater Academy in Florida, and he loved to stop at South Carolina, said it was a great experience. Mike Peterson was very inspirational, and he told him some things that he'll definitely implement in his game. He said, I could definitely see myself going to that program. His coach, Jesse Chinchar, had informed him that the Gamecocks were interested. And so the next step is for the coaches to come see him in action this fall. And they'll have to get to know each other better when the season starts and when they see him play American ball. And then they'll see if they move on an offer. He's also been to West Virginia. He's not picked up any offers just yet. His teammate, 2023 offensive tackle Lucas Simmons, 6'7", 300, who's a native of Sweden, he also made an unofficial visit with the Gamecocks Tuesday. The Gamecocks offered him early in the month. Many more big-time offers have come in, including Michigan, Texas, Texas A&M, Georgia Tech, Arizona State, Louisville, Florida State, Penn State, Oklahoma, his father's alma mater, Oklahoma State, Kentucky, and Minnesota. He's part of the PPI Dream Chasers tour, comprised of European prospects and making stops at several camps around the country. Linebacker Deuce Caldwell of Malden took his official to North Carolina last week. Said he loved his time in Chapel Hill. The Tar Heels are going to be hard to beat. He said they set the bar high. He loved everything that Mac Brown and the rest of the coaching staff that they've done with the program. Feels like they're on the come up, as he put it, and they kept it real with him. He's been to Clemson unofficially and for a camp, to Georgia for a 7-on-7, and tomorrow he'll be at USC for a 7-on-7. So the Gamecocks have not really given him much recruiting interest, and he had been scheduled for an official to UCF this coming weekend, but he says he's not going anywhere this weekend. His newest offer came Monday from Kansas. He also has offers from Coastal Carolina, Ole Miss, Baylor, Minnesota, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, East Carolina, West Virginia, and others. He implied in a tweet the other day that he might be getting close to making a commitment. Though I asked him if he was about to do so, he said no. But if he does, it would look like it'd be North Carolina. North Augusta place kicker Drew Stevens received PWO offers from USC and NC State last night. He also has a PWO offer from Iowa. He's kicked at numerous camps this summer, including USC, Clemson, NC State, Iowa, Maryland, Ball State, Coastal Carolina, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, and Old Dominion. He's ranked the number 33 kicker in the class by Chris Saylor Kicking. I mentioned defensive tackle Nick James of IMG Academy. He plans to announce his commitment on July 3rd. Of course, he'll visit USC this weekend, or is scheduled to. He has taken an official visit to Ohio State, unofficials to Florida and UCF. 2023 Spartanburg quarterback Raheem Jeter was offered by Kentucky. 2024 quarterback Jaden Davis, Catawba Ridge, was offered by Ohio State. Basketball, 6'2" MJ Collins of Westminster, Catawba, and Rock Hill on an official visit to Clemson that started Tuesday. He has also taken an official visit to Virginia Tech. Oklahoma and Providence are recent offers. He also has offers from Wake Forest, Radford, Xavier, and Elon. Clemson offered 6'4" A.J. Brown of Orlando, 14 points a game last season, 3-star, number 28 shooting guard nationally. Penn State, Alabama, Texas A&M, and VCU are among his other offers. Clemson offered 6'8" Frey Nuimbi.
Nice.
Well, the G is usually silent.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Well
a
done.
G in there. 6'8" Frey Nuimbi of the Congo and Orlando. Alabama, Dayton, Georgia Tech, Illinois, and Iowa State are some other offers. And 6'8", 2023, Gregory Jackson of Ridgeview made an unofficial visit to USC on Tuesday. He also was offered by Florida on Tuesday night, and he picked up an offer from Duke after visiting there the other day. And before I let you go, got to mention a couple of other things. 21 running back Zaire Scotland of Walhalla committed to Kennesaw State. And South Carolina had another basketball visit in today. Here he is. I forgot to put him on my list. 6'7", Deontay Bass of Savannah made an unofficial to USC today. He was at Georgia last week. He has offers from Virginia Tech, Georgetown, and Georgia. And that, my friends, is the recruiting report for tonight, brought to you by Seawells. Okay. Anything happen while we were doing that, Chris? Did the world come to an end?
I think we elected a new president while you were running through that. That's great stuff. No, the World Series still holding steady with Stanford leading Vanderbilt 1-0, bottom of the second inning now.
Nice. And the Braves? What are the Braves doing? Have we paid attention to the Braves?
We have not paid attention to the Braves.
Yeah. Okay.
No reason to pay attention to the Braves until late August, early September.
Pat says he has a point of interest for us.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked right now, Corn. I was purposely waiting towards the end of the show to see if you ever brought it up. Your beloved Boston Celtics hired a new head coach tonight. I'm going to butcher his name. I apologize in advance. Ime Udoka, who's currently been an assistant for the Brooklyn Nets. He has a long, storied career as an assistant and player in the NBA. He's 43 years old, recently coached Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart on Team USA in the 2019 FIBA World Cup. He was an assistant for a long time under Greg Popovich in the San Antonio Spurs, but he is going to be the new head coach for your beloved Celtics.
Yeah, he's very highly regarded. I think it's pronounced Ime Udoka.
Thank you. I knew I would get that wrong.
Ime Udoka, very highly regarded. He was in Sacramento, and he's been with the Nets, and people seem to like him. People seem to like him. So, hey, I'm fine with it. If that's where they're headed, I'm all fine with that. Let's just see if he can, from my standpoint, go in there and win. Just win, baby. That's all I ask. Just win. Let's go to Sam in Charleston next up here on Sports Talk. Sam, welcome in tonight. How are you, sir?
Good. How you guys doing? Hope you guys good Father's Day, by the way.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Hey, I just let you know, I've been watching the Shane Beamer interview on Zoom. One of the things I point out this fall, I think, is he talks about more recruiting class coming in, and I want to know if the concession stands will be open this fall. Because I want to know. 3, what do you think about the protocols for the fall for the Gamecocks? What do you think about that?
Well, and thank you for your call. Yes, concession stands will be fully stocked and wide open for all the fans at Williams-Brice, Death Valley, Johnson, Haygood, all the football stadiums. They're going to be fully stocked and open for business, just like they were for the end of the baseball season and the baseball regionals and all that. Mm-hmm. And the protocols, I think that my guess is most everything is just going to be dropped. We're going to be pretty much back to normal. I don't think they're going to require you to wear any sort of mask, I don't guess, in the great outdoors. And I don't think they're going to be checking to see if you've been vaccinated or anything like that. I mean, I think.
Oh, gosh, could you imagine, Phil, how long it would take you to get into the stadium if you had to present proof of vaccination and they had to check the cards for an 80,000 seat stadium at either Clemson or South? We're talking hours to get through. I don't think anybody wants that headache. And I agree with you. I think we'll be wide open. The only thing that we may see is the signs that we're starting to see now based off the CDC guidelines. If you have been fully vaccinated, no mask is necessary. If not, we recommend, but I can't imagine anybody at the schools is going to say you must wear a mask on a 95-degree afternoon in early September.
I would agree.
Let's not forget also Governor Henrik Master outlawed. He did an executive order to prohibit COVID passports in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So I think things will be back to where they were pre-COVID, and you'll have your full concessions available to you. Prices are likely to be higher as everything has gone up here recently. So, your $3 hot dog's probably going to cost you $4.50. Your $7 beer is probably going to cost you $10. Your $6 Pepsi or Coke's probably going to cost you $8, but that's what people are willing to pay when they're in that setting. But I think pretty much across the board, we're going to have full attendance and everything getting back to normal. Though I did get an email, well, we all did, who are on the email chain from the SEC about SEC Media Days. Little concerning that they are still not yet sure if SEC Media Days will have full attendance because they in Alabama, I guess they in Alabama, or the SEC for that matter, SEC still kind of following some CDC guidelines and things like that. And so their email was basically to warn everybody that not sure yet if they'll be open for everybody, not sure yet how many credentialed media they will allow, not sure yet how they're going to do the interviews in terms of any Radio Row sit down in person type stuff. Not sure yet how they're going to do all that. So still to be determined from the standpoint of the SEC when it comes to that. And I guess the ACC also will be looking at some things leading up to their media day next month. But that's coming quickly. I mean, here it is. We got one more week to this month and then 3. We're about 4 weeks away from those media days. So, they got to figure something out pretty quickly. Okay. Thank you for the phone call. A reminder tomorrow night, Mike Houston, of course, who did well for himself in his brief stay at the Citadel. 2 years at the Citadel before he went to James Madison, I think it was. Came in from Lenoir-Rhyne with left a great Division II program behind, went to the Citadel, made them very competitive from the get-go. What did they do? Didn't they go win back-to-back Southern Conferences, or they were right there in the hunt? Had a nice Southern Conference winning streak, I believe, and left there, went to James Madison, where he won some FCS national championships. Now he's at East Carolina, where he's trying to build that thing. And, there's some people telling me, I'm like, hey, South Carolina will beat East Carolina. They're going to get off to a 2-0 start. And I got some people saying this East Carolina team, and I haven't looked at them closely yet, but this East Carolina team is supposed to be pretty good or much improved over what they were last year. They weren't very good last year, I don't believe.
No, last year they went 4-8. I'm looking at their, 3-6 in that shortened year, and the year before they were 4-8. So he's got a rebuild, but those are those tricky games, especially when you go on the road to a place you don't play all that often. That'll be a little bit of a different environment. I think South Carolina, well, I don't know, Phil. I would assume they're going to be okay, but we haven't seen them. The greater question is, which is more of the unknown? I guess men's basketball is probably the greater unknown of the two teams just because of the entire overhaul in the roster. But still, the football team has maybe not quite as many, but certainly close to as many question marks as men's basketball is going to have.
Well, I think it's simple when it comes to the Gamecock football team. They'll be as good as their quarterback play will be. If they can get above average quarterback play, I'm not talking about superstar type stuff, but that'd be nice for them. But just above average quarterback play, somebody that can respectfully throw the ball and be a threat with his arm and make defenses play the run honest, then they got a chance to maybe be pretty good on offense, because they got 2 guys that can run the ball, maybe 3 they can work in there if you just give them some room. And I think their offensive line is going to be okay. And I think their tight ends, of course, are going to be very good. And I think the fact they'll run 2 tight ends, that's a positive. That'll take one of those wide receiver spots off the field where they've had some trouble, filling those spots with quality players. That's one less position where you got to come up with a quality player, because you can run out a 2 or 3 tight ends at any one time in Muse and Bell and Mullins, to say the least, those 3. And then you say you run 2 in the backfield and a quarterback. That's 5 of your positions right there. And now you probably wouldn't run 2 running backs if you had 2 tight ends, because that'd leave you really short at wide receiver. But I think they're wide receivers. I do believe that they've got enough talent there to where 2 or 3 can emerge as consistent receivers with speed who can get separation and get downfield for them. I think that they just, they played very poorly last year as a group. And I just think as a group, they're going to rebound. I think Joyner's got a chance with his athleticism to be good. There were some others who showed some promise going through last year. So I'm not as worried about wide receiver as maybe some others for them. But the quarterback situation has got to take a big step up.
No doubt. And, it goes hand in hand. Are the receivers last year, did they struggle as a group because they didn't get great quarterback play, or did they not get great quarterback play because the receivers as a group struggled? You hit it on the head. They can run the football. There's no doubt South Carolina will be very, very good rushing the football. But if you're stacking 8, 9 in the box because they can't throw it down the field, it's going to be a long, long afternoon.
Absolutely. All right. Mets have taken a 5-0 lead on the Braves. Sorry about that, Braves fans. With that fine note, we say goodbye from Sports Talk. Have a great night. Look forward to being with you tomorrow right here. We'll see you then.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DM.